You saw a lizard in your garden today, maybe on a stone, maybe on the warm edge of a path. You thought you knew what it was doing. You didn't. What's actually happening, right now, 6 inches below that lizard, nobody told you about it. And it's been running under your feet every single morning without you knowing it existed. This is exactly what's happening underground. That lizard is reading your garden, and what it's reading right now tells a story about what's living under your feet that most people never find out. What ends up in your yard tonight, or doesn't, depends on a signal that lizard sent out 10 minutes ago. You're going to discover that the lizard on your stone is a surveillance system for something enormous happening 6 inches down, and that the soil beneath your lawn is more alive than the sky above it. Welcome. Here is where the wildlife you already live with turns out to be stranger and more extraordinary than anything you could find in a zoo. If you want to keep seeing your yard this way, subscribe. We'll make it worth it. Stay with this until the end, because the lizard on your stone is not waiting for something to happen. It already made something happen. And it's been doing it every morning, in your garden, since before you moved in. 1. Most mornings, if you have a garden, you have lizards. Common lizards. Zootoca vivipara in northern Europe, fence lizards in the American South, skinks in the Pacific states. They appear on rocks, on warm concrete, on old timber. They sit. They seem to be doing nothing. But the basking is not the point. It never was. A lizard's core body temperature has to reach a specific threshold, somewhere between 28 and 34 degrees Celsius, depending on species, before it can hunt, before it can run, before it can think with anything approaching full speed. Cold, it is slow and vulnerable. Warm, it is something else entirely. The stone is not rest. It is preparation. And what it's preparing for is happening directly below your feet, right now. 2. The soil in an average garden, not a forest, not a wetland, just an ordinary suburban garden, contains somewhere between 100 million and 1 billion individual organisms per cubic meter. A single teaspoon of healthy garden soil holds more living organisms than there are people on Earth. Soil scientists have been measuring this for decades, and the number still surprises them. Your garden is not a backdrop. It's an ecosystem with more moving parts than you've ever been told about. And the lizard on your wall knows that. Not abstractly, not as information. It knows because it has been sitting above it, registering vibration through the bones of its jaw since it arrived on that rock 40 minutes ago. But the lizard isn't just listening. What it does next, what it has already done this morning before you came outside, is the part that changes everything. 3. Here is something most people do not know about lizard hearing. Several species have no visible external ears at all. What they have instead is a system for detecting substrate vibration, movement traveling through solid ground, so precise that it guided their evolution long before their eyes did. Researchers at Carleton University in Canada demonstrated this with the sandfish lizard, a species that buries itself in desert sand. Buried completely, it can detect the movement of insects on the surface at a distance of up to 15 centimeters, guided entirely by vibration, not smell, not sight. Garden lizards, despite living above ground, not in it, carry the same sensory apparatus. The stone is their sand, 15 centimeters, through solid ground. The stone is not chosen at random, it is a listening post. The lizard positions itself where vibration travels fastest, over compacted soil, over stone foundations, over the root systems of established plants, because those are the pathways where information moves. When you see it sitting completely still, it is at maximum attention. The stillness is the signal that it's working. 4. Earthworms are not the only thing moving. Your garden soil, right now, in this moment, contains beetle larvae, millipedes, soil mites, nematodes, springtails, and fungal networks that stretch across the entire width of your property in a single unbroken web. Scientists mapping these networks have found that in undisturbed soil, fungal mycelium can reach densities of up to 100 meters of filament per cubic centimeter of earth. 100 meters, in a space the size of a sugar cube. That network is alive. It pulses. It responds to light changes above ground, to moisture, to the chemical signals released by plant roots when they're under stress. And the organisms living in and around it, the ones the lizard is listening for, move in response to all of it. But there is one thing that moves them more than anything else. The lizard knows what that is, and it learned it without ever being taught. 5. When soil temperature drops, even by 2 or 3 degrees, the organisms in the upper layers begin to migrate downward. Not randomly, in coordinated waves documented by soil, ecologists tracking invertebrate movement through temperature gradients in garden and grassland plots. The pattern is consistent. Within the first hour or two of a surface temperature drop, the majority of upper layer invertebrates move significantly deeper. This is why the lizard basked first. It needed to reach operating temperature before the soil warmed, because the window in which surface organisms are active, in which they are huntable, is narrow. The lizard that gets warm first eats. The one that arrives late finds empty ground. Your garden has a schedule. It runs on soil temperature, light angle, and moisture. Everything in it, above ground and below, is following it. The lizard is simply the one animal in your yard that's reading the schedule in real time. But researchers who started watching that schedule closely found something that nobody had predicted, and it had nothing to do with temperature. Here is the part that stopped a study in its tracks. Scientists already knew that certain animals could use ground vibration to drive earthworms to the surface. Wood turtles do it. Herring gulls do it. Humans discovered it by accident. It's the basis of a tradition in the American South called worm grunting, where people have been vibrating the ground to harvest bait for generations without knowing why it worked. Researchers at Carleton University confirmed the mechanism in 2008. Earthworms register the vibration pattern as a predator burrowing toward them, and they surface to escape. The predator they evolved to fear is a mole that weighs roughly the same as a garden lizard, a mole that moves through soil by pressing its body against it, a mole whose resting vibration pattern, measured in a laboratory, sits in the same frequency range as a lizard lying still on warm ground. But then someone pointed a camera at a garden lizard on a warm stone. The lizard pressed its underside against the surface. The vibration pattern it produced, body weight, muscle tremor, respiratory movement, fell within the same frequency range. The earthworms moved, not toward the lizard, away from it, into the upper soil layers on the far side, into the zone the lizard was already watching. The stone wasn't rest. It was never rest. It was the beginning of this. No one taught it this. There is no plan. There is only a lizard on a stone in your garden, doing what lizards on stones have done for longer than gardens have existed. And the soil beneath it, your soil, is responding right now in a pattern that was old before the first human ever thought to look down. The question isn't what the lizard is doing there. The question is how long it's been doing it before you.